Okay.
We're going to do all these good things. And we're going to be podcasting at the same time. So I'm going to put you on podcast.
Great.
Okay. We're live.
Yay.
Thank you, Seph, for coming in. It's been such an amazing opportunity for us to talk and be with you and introduce you to the Resonant Essentials.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, it's great to meet you. And of course, there's a wonderful story of synchronicity that puts us together. So we know that we have a great purpose. And speaking to all the people today that we're going to be speaking to and those that we have yet to speak to as a result of this work, that's all planned by the divine. So I love being a part of that and watching that happen, because like I always say, miracles never wear off their new car smell, do they?
That's a good one. I love that one. I'm going to tell everybody right now, if they have questions for you, they can put it in the comments. And
that's amazing. Yeah, that's great. So yes, thank you for having me.
I am so excited to get into this with you. I want you to tell everyone, when did you start doing this work? Because we don't often find men of your age. Usually they're older or they're newbies starting out, they're younger. So well attuned and so well connected and doing their work. So when did you start?
Well, first of all, I probably am older than you think I am, but that's okay. The other thing is that I actually started this 20 years ago, actually a little more than 20 years ago, and I was in my early 30s, and I had a breakup, a really bad breakup. I was in a one-sided relationship, and I was having a nervous breakdown. And during that nervous breakdown, I remembered that my mom had taught me about the angels. So I asked the angels to come in, but I told them, I actually demanded of them that they make their appearance a little more tangible. I told them that I wasn't going to believe that they were around me if they allowed my life to get this messed up, right? And so I told them I needed something tangible. I needed something real that I could know that they were there. Well, instantaneously, I felt a peace overcome me. And I also felt as if something was touching me and felt the energy of their presence in the room. And if that wasn't enough, my dog and cat started looking around because they could see them too. And I thought, well, this is very interesting, but I was overcome with this amazing sense of peace, and I was able to go to sleep that night. And I thought, well, there's a one-off experience that I'll never be able to explain to a lot of people, especially because I was a professional, I was an entrepreneur, and I could never talk to people about the crazy thing that I was doing by talking to angels, right? So the very next day, I heard something like fly by my ear, and I heard it say hello, and I'm like hello, and they said you may think that you called on us because of that event, but turn things around from now on and realize that these events are sent to you because they're part of an agreement, and we're going to be working together from now on. Well, the long story short is that by establishing this communication link, I was really enamored by it because I thought it was just for the one night, and they started telling me things and predicting things or whatever. And they started actually telling me things that were true, but I also felt a lot of love and I felt a lot of excitement about life. And eventually when they were able to establish a communication link with me where I could hear them very fluently, they said, the world is changing, it's going to ascend, and all of the old structures that appear to serve humanity do not, and they'll be collapsing, such as government, money, religion, and the healing system or the medical system. And they said that that would be happening in a short period of time, and that I would be asked to help during this transition time, that I was here to do that work. So over the last 20 years, 20 plus years, I've actually been working with them to work with clients. Now, initially, it was a little on the down low, actually. This is kind of a cool story because at that time, I would get these sort of hits of guidance to reach out to people. And I would reach out to them. They'd invite me over. We'd have a cup of tea or a little dinner or something like that. And ultimately, I would hear something from the angels that I should say to them, but I didn't say, oh, hi, I heard this from the angels. And a lot of times I would leave and I would get a call in my car and it'd be like, you're not going to believe this miracle that just happened from that thing that you said, whatever it was. And it happened continuously. So I got to learn how to use that connectivity to create miracles with people and the angels. So to that capacity, eventually the angels told me that I would lose everything to do what I'm meant to do. So shortly thereafter, I lost my business and my house and all of that. And so I got to go through the experience of actually just really breaking it down. And during that time, I decided to share my gifts professionally. So I started doing readings and I learned how to do hypnotherapy. And the cool thing is they're very, very interchangeable because we deal with the higher conscious mind or we connect with the higher conscious mind. So there's so many different ways where we can, where I can connect to that level of consciousness for a client, or I can connect them to that level of consciousness to do the healing or to get the navigation or to find out where we're going next, which is very helpful now because everything is so uncertain. And it's this uncertainty that's uprooting the old structures and making room for the new, which is really exciting. But in order to actually be able to be in the right place at the right time, and one of the things that the angels have said to me recently that's very interesting is you'll notice that most of us are really prioritizing this healing of any of the densities and the past traumas, right? And so what's really interesting is that the angels have said to me recently that it's because of this ascension, we're about to hit another layer, another dimension, or another high point of frequency. And so these things are too dense within us. And so they're being dissolved right now and dissolved for good. So if any of your listeners feel like they're actually working really hard to release themselves from something that they've been working on for 10, 15, 20, 30, 40 years, I have to tell you that take hope in the fact that this is the last time. This is it being dissolved once and for all. Yes, it is.
Yay!
Yes, because what the angels have said about this is that we've carried this around for this amount of time because it's been our teacher. It's been a teaching mechanism. And so that teaching mechanism has done what it's needed to do. And now we get to peacefully tell it goodbye and love it goodbye, thank it for its service, and kick it on the way out if we want to. But whatever it is, and that these are things where realizing, and of course, flipping into the identity of our higher self instead of just our avatar that we're here on earth with. And there's a lot of relating to that and integrating that. And of course, with that comes power. And so, we end up identifying with that higher dimensional version of ourselves, which is really just sort of taking a ride in a vehicle in this reality right now. So I'm really excited to help people right now. It's nice to get to come out to Albuquerque and work and get to see people and meet people. And yeah, so that's how that all got started. So, oh my God, what a
snorting. It's my girl. She's got lymphoma, so she's having a little bit of a hard time.
Oh wow.
I apologize.
Well, that's okay. Well, she loves the love, and that's she sensed that it was like all oozing out here, so she had to be part of the action here.
Well, she kept scratching at my leg, and the only way I could get her to just kind of chill was to bring her up. So I apologize.
Well, no, don't. We gotta have guest appearances too, right?
So let me ask you this. I love everything that you're saying because I feel like not enough people are paying attention to this. They're so busy running around trying to recreate the same paradigms, the same, how do I make $1 million? How do I make when, like you said, the financial structure is shifting and changing, and the way we're trying to be seen and the work that we have to do has to be spirit consciousness. It can't be fear-based. It can't be, and yet it stimulates the fear. Because if you're not doing what you always did, what the heck do you do? Now, does your hypnotherapy work with that?
Well, first of all, well, that's a good question. Doing hypnotherapy is actually a I don't want to say it has so many different uses, and it's underutilized, to be honest with you. So let me start here because we are familiar with the term being mesmerized. And being mesmerized is terminology that refers to being in a trance-like state. Well, that term mesmerized is from Dr. Franz Mesmer in Germany, who was a medical doctor who discovered how hypnosis works and how we utilize what he called the energy that connects all things to heal all things. Now, he applied it for medical uses, and we have since learned from such luminaries as Dolores Cannon how to utilize it for spiritual purposes, but it literally is the connection of life force energy through our higher conscious states. So we first started off by, of course, realizing that we can learn to quit smoking. We can actually reprogram abundance paradigms. We can delete old scarcity mindsets and replace them with a new mindset. And believe it or not, that will begin to crank abundance into our world. I help people connect with people who have passed over. I help people who want to connect with their angels and spirit guides. And I help people, it actually can replace any form of other therapies that, and it can actually do it on a more quantum level. I'll tell you a couple of really cool stories about how this works because it's such an amazing tool. And I actually have a hypnotherapist myself because I still do the work as well. But here's a really cool story. I had a client who came to me, and this was like one of these really odd situations because she came to me explaining that she keeps finding herself in the line of fire of being victimized or being assaulted, literally being physically assaulted for no reason in certain places. And I thought, well, this is very interesting, but I trust the modality, so I'm going to go to work. So I have a particular timeline therapy treatment where the higher self can reveal to us, because it already knows what's going on here. And so what I did was I took her into that state and I thought, I'm just going to let her higher self reveal what it needs to know. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, she just sort of sits up and she says, oh my God, I'm holding grudges towards so many people. And it's actually choking my energy field. And that is absolutely the solution. The higher mind knows the solution that needs to come into the equation. So I'm just facilitating the connection. And so what's interesting is that absolutely, sort of like your beautiful dog there, they already speak at the language of the quantum field, right? They communicate with each other through the quantum field, and so do we. We just don't acknowledge it. And so basically that's why we call this a quantum healing technique, is because it utilizes the quantum field. And so this person was sending out an energy. It's sort of like when dogs go to the dog park, right? Some send out that aggressive energy and some send out this very passive energy. And you know who's who by who gets into the fights or whatever. So she was sending out on the quantum field this sort of field, this sort of vibe of aggression, but it was because she was holding on to so much aggression toward other people who had wronged her in her life. And she discovered that in the first session. And she just literally stood up. So we went right away and we went and took all these people that she needed to forgive and we put them in the light and she lightened the load. And she's been working with me ever since to continue. But she took that to her actual psychologist and she's like, wow, that is a huge leap forward. And another thing, and this is a really cool story as well, because it sort of illustrates how through what we do in hypnosis or what we do from within, whether it's through hypnosis or not, what we do from within will have immediate effects on the malleable world that we live in. So
Right.
I had someone who came to me who had a very painful broken communication gap with someone. So in other words, there was a soul connection between the two of them and they were, in a relationship of some sort. It got really complicated And it got to the point where where she was not able to get him to return the communication and such, right? So, but she still felt the pain of this connection. She felt the pain between the two of them and all that kind of stuff. And it was debilitating for her. Well, I took her into hypnosis, and her higher self and his higher self had a conversation where they worked everything out or resolved everything, or let's just say they got to understand, she got to understand him a little bit more, and vice versa in this hypnosis session. She got out to her car, and there was a text message after the session. She going out to her car, there was a text message from him saying, "I'm sorry, can we talk and make peace?" So the peace had already been made at the level of the quantum field. And this is where we're getting now into conscious creativity. So this isn't, not only is this not just about like healing these things or sort of like, let's say, fixing something that's wrong, but this is where our conscious creativity comes from, because it operates on unity with the quantum field. So back to the original part of your conversation, which is talking about still sort of this, yes, there are a lot of people who still need to let the old paradigm expire or experience for themselves the fact that it is no longer viable or valid, because we're walking into new paradigms of the way we do business. We're already walking into new paradigms of the way we handle money. Okay, and we're already walking into this, but in order to develop this relationship, it's one in unity with the quantum field. It is one in unity with the quantum field. So when we're doing hypnosis for success programming or for something else, we're going to discover something else as well, which is all about the being able to have a new relationship with the quantum field. And the minute that we do that, we immediately up level our ability to consciously create the reality that we want to live in. And it dramatically shifts overnight, especially when I do success programming. And it's not just a one shot thing. It's a little bit of work. It's not that much, but what happens is we let go of all of the old limitations, and then we let in and we visualize the new, and we plan it at such a level that we're operating with the quantum field. Then we supercharge that. And the next thing to know is when I do success programming with people, people immediately get a new job that they want. They get like a bonus. They get all these kinds of things, because like that person, that client that I referred to that did all that work at the level of the quantum field and shifted everything and then made peace with this other being in her life, then we actually start creating at that level, and it's going to show up in the 3D world.
I'm taking some notes. Okay. So how long does a success program generally take? Success programming usually take?
So what I do, so with success programming, I do that in 3 sessions. But a lot of times when people start making progress by actually gaining access to their higher conscious, or the states that they're connected to the quantum field, what happens is they'll do it more. But the actual programming is a 3 session situation. So the first thing that we do is we discover all of the limiting beliefs through a process called timeline therapy. And we take all of those experiences and we heal them or dissolve them, because they're anchored into us somewhere. And so that's really exciting. Usually people will leave that first one, and immediately they'll start to see some sort of like, something like, I always have people that are like, oh my God, I thought I was going to have to wait until the 3rd, but I got a bonus at work today that I wasn't expecting, or something like that, right? Something will show up in the physical world that'll show us that we're actually doing it. And then from there, we'll discover what's next, because there's a couple of different routes that we go. If there's something that needs to be forgiven or someone that needs to be forgiven, we go through a therapy to actually dissolve that. And then we go through the whole reprogramming the new. And it's done at such a beautiful and subtle level, but it sticks because we've already uprooted all the weeds in the previous 2 sessions.
Have you ever had any failures, like people who don't quite get, resistance sometimes can be futile. but what we resist persists. So if they resist work, have you ever had anybody do that?
That's a very good question, actually. I have a lot of people who come in not initially understanding or believing that it will work. And there's a way that we can make them understand that. I have not had people dissatisfied with what they've done. I've had people who've gone in expecting one healing and got a completely different healing, that we had to go in later and get the other one, but that was what their higher self wanted at that time. And when that happened, it was very interesting because the people were very beautiful about it. And in these cases, I spent a little extra time trying to funnel, the energy back into that. And eventually, I was like, no, I'm surrendering to this. And then I thought, wow, this person might be dissatisfied. And then I come back out, and they're like, oh my God, I needed that so badly. Even worse, I'm going to reschedule with you to get to the other thing. And I realized that was the case. But what's interesting is that more people than not, when they initially approach me about this particular modality, that they certainly come with one eye open, like, what is this all about? And I totally understand that. So what I do is I remind people, first of all, that we go into hypnosis every single day. When we're in the shower and we have great ideas, when we're in the car and we start to daydream. So we already go into hypnosis already. So using the shower as a perfect example, we go into the shower and we get great ideas. Why is that? Well, because we connected with the quantum field of intelligence, and we did it. It's a subtle energy field, and we did it without knowing it because we just fell into that connectivity. And as a result of it, guess what we did? We accessed stream of consciousness who has been banging at the door anyway, trying to give us some good ideas to move forward in our life. And now it's got the opportunity because we've actually fallen into grace or into connectivity with that field. And then I also remind people that we're already aware that dreams come to us with some meaning attached to them, that our subconscious communicates to us through our inner vision, our inner screen, or our imagination, if you want to call it that. So very often through hypnosis, we'll start to experience things that we'll want to write up as our imagination. So what I've started to do is help people realize that when we're in this session, we're going to hand over your imagination to your higher consciousness, which is already using it to speak to you through dreams and other things, other ways. Even if it's an idea that comes through a vision, like, oh my God, I could see myself doing that. That's your higher consciousness. So if someone comes to me with some trepidation, I start off there where they get to realize that they're already utilizing this modality. They just have their pinky toe in it, and they're benefiting it from where they have their pinky toe in it. And I'm like, let's get on the diving board and dive into the deep end here and really benefit from this.
Hold on a second. I'm looking at some of the comments.
Oh, wow, how fun.
Harold Hart has said, fantastic beginning to your work, Seph. Wow, incredible. And Seph, I love the explanation about we enter the state of imagination.
Oh, wow.
So much. So he's got some good, got some good complimentary things that he's saying.
Thank you.
I'm just periodically checking for comments. If anybody has any questions for Seph and you want me to ask them, please put them in the comments.
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, and
go ahead.
Go ahead. Yeah, no, go ahead.
Okay, so my next to the caveat to that is there's been a lot of PTSD due to COVID and family members passing and family members getting COVID and being stuck in a house. When you're an extrovert, that's really traumatic. And coming out of the house when you're an introvert who found a rhythm to work from at home, and now you're being forced back out into public. I don't know who that would be, but there's a few things that go along with this new paradigm that we're working on. When you're working with the success programming, do you have to chip away at any PTSD before that happens? Is there
Wow, there's so much to unpack here. Let me start off here. Amazing question. And for anyone who's listening to this and you feel like you're alone or you're to blame for what you're experiencing, I want you to receive the love that I'm sending to you right now, and the angels too, because you're not. So this is such an amazing question to unpack. And so the first layer that I feel guided, and it's interesting because I'm discovering this with the angels. When I do these things, I'm in connection with them too. And I literally just discovered something here to answer that. So during the event, I'm just going to refer to it as the event, because the angels at the beginning of this said to me, do not refer to this as the word that the media gives it, the one that rhymes with mandemic. Refer to it as an ascension portal, because it will be a massive awakening.
There
And
you
of
go.
course, what this has absolutely happened. And so the other thing is that, it takes trauma. So originally I woke up from a traumatic breakup, right? And so it takes trauma to wake us up. So yes, the angels told me at the beginning of this that this trauma that would be inflicted on humanity would be a catalyst for waking up the masses. And that's what happens. But here's the beautiful part, and let's step into this, because this is the part that I just discovered as I'm having this conversation with you. Because every effort to every effort to contain or to mitigate the period of this event was all about suppressing our access to the quantum field, because our access to the quantum field is through unity. We're all a collective member or a unified member of that quantum field that creates our reality personally and globally. And the minute you start actually propagating a message that actually contradicts the truth, which is that we're all a unified being in a reality where we're creating a better experience, or the next level experience, and you have something within it that's actually trying all it can to suppress that connectivity to the quantum field, you can't do that. So that defies the truth of what we are, because we're undivisibly or indivisibly one. So in other words, we're not separate beings, even though we have that perception of it being in our avatar or our physicalized body. But everything that has happened through that event has sort of harped on that division. Get away from me, you have germs. Oh, you can't go there because you're bringing a deadly disease with you, and all this, which is pure, it's just preposterous, to believe.
Fear-mongering.
Well, of course it's fear mongering, but like during this situation, the angels kept telling me, do you think that the creator would create something in nature for the purpose of destroying and dividing you? No. And so what's interesting is that that's why we were able to be more in touch. But what's interesting is that anything that tries to take us, anything in our lives, any event or any person or any trauma that attempts to take us away from the truth of our unity with that quantum field, it's a boomerang effect, and it causes it to go back. So yes, there is a lot of trauma, but all that happened was that trauma was deeply stored within. It's collected trauma from ages and ages and ages of tyranny, of being in an old control system. So it's not just, let's say, it's not just say, from having to stay at home, or from the fact that, your relatives won't, invite you over to Thanksgiving because you aren't, didn't get the shot or whatever. But
Right.
it's just all of that is actually a tip of the iceberg from the real trauma that's stored within. And so it's coming up to be healed. And that's the thing. So we're just now getting into the conversation, to be honest with you, collectively. And I know a lot of healers are starting to do this, where when something appears as a setback or whatever, immediately they go, okay, what's trying to be cleared and dissolved here? So we're just now getting into the conversation where we can be like, okay, what is this thing, this traumatic thing that's come up, and how is it to my benefit? How is it moving me forward? So we're almost to the phase collectively where we're going to start taking responsibility for what's coming up to be healed. And then when we do that, we're going to start actually bringing in the new earth in that sense. So, yes.
Yeah, we've been doing at Resonant Essentials, we go, we start with, I don't know if you've ever heard of the book Radical Forgiveness Program,
Mm-hmm.
where you work with that, and then Radical Self-Forgiveness. And we've been cycling both those programs through to give people the opportunity to really kind of look at, because I found Robert Sheldrake years ago with the morphic field. So he calls it the morphic field, it's the quantum field, it's the connection and knowing that we are all connected, that everything that we put out there. So I love what you're saying. It thrills me to death that you're going to be working with Resonant Essentials, because
Yes.
you know it's the Albuquerque was supposed to be is supposed to be one of the healing meccas of the new age, where people the frequency is going to be cleared and all these things. But it's the division, what I call, when people tell me, when they talk about, I've got to find my tribe, I'm like, no, find community, because that means come unify. So at Resonant Essentials, we believe in community, building that community through people who want to collaborate effectively and intuitively and spiritually to help bring this about. So you are definitely a blessing to the community of Resonant Essentials, because we all need each other.
Well, yes, and of course, thank you. And you know, I'm not, and in order not to take this to ego, I'm not going to take it personally. But one of the things I will say is that I'm very excited to be an instrument of this, because community, unity, understanding the level of unity, how that plays into the quantum field and what it is that we're truly creating here, it is super exciting, right? And so taking this journey and leaving the leaving the reality of what we see of the collapsing structures and the ships that are burning and all that kind of good stuff, leaving that aside, connecting with each other and entering into a conversation like this is so helpful, and staying and remaining connected with each other. And so I've been working on a project like that for a while. So it's interesting that you mentioned that, because I'm still in discovery mode as to why the angels are calling me into this area. And I know, well, first of all, let me say this. And this is kind of cool, because in January of 2020, which is 3 months before, everything kind of shifted, I was working, I was selling BMWs in a car dealership, and I was in the showroom one day, and I knew when I got that job that it was temporary. And I was in the showroom. It was a sunny Southern California day, and I all of a sudden I got in that moment. I fell into connectivity with the quantum field, with the angels, and I heard a message. They said, "It's time to do your work now. The ascension is starting." Apparent on the outside world. It's already been going, but you know what I mean. It'll become obvious. They said you're going to be traveling around and meeting people and doing your work through this way, and you'll have you'll be virtual. You'll be a virtual business, and you'll be sharing your work and your gifts with people virtually, and traveling around and connecting people and helping people through the ascension. And I thought, well, that's really cool. Well, then when March happened, I got the full on 411 from the angels about what this was and what its purpose was and all of that. And so I started working on this project. And I left California and I moved to Sedona area. And so I've been working on projects where I've just been doing different things. I created an organization called Earth Angels International, because we're all a team in this. And so we're all angels on Earth right now that's manifesting the new Earth. And so I'm a filmmaker. So that's what I was doing actually as an actor and filmmaker. And so I knew that I learned how to be a filmmaker eventually to collide that with this work. So I have a film that I'm going to be creating, but I also host 2 podcasts, and I created a community of connecting what I call conscious luminaries, because I've moved away from the term light workers, because conscious luminaries are people who are working with light because they understand that their job is to raise consciousness in the world right now. And so it's a community to connect conscious luminaries, to get their messages out, to understand that we're all working together on this. So I'm really excited to come out there too, because when you mention, you know, Albuquerque being a portal or being connected to the portal, that makes perfect sense to me, because at one time there was a lot of activity in Sedona and in California, but the connectivity in California has gravely diminished, you know, because of all the fear that got propagated and accepted in the California culture. And it's not a conversation of liberal, conservative, or blue or red or anything like that. But I worked in television, and I understand, and I'm also a hypnotherapist, so I understand the hypnotic effect of television. And so you know, in California, especially in Los Angeles, you know, everybody works in that industry and they're hypnotized by the programming that's within the television programming. So, and it's funny because I people call me once in a while, be like, "Oh, I saw you on that show," and I forget, you know, because you know, that world is so yeah, I don't even watch anything. You see what I'm saying? But it is interesting that Albuquerque, yes, it's a portal system, and so I am excited to be of value and be of service and to help to create synergy there. Yes.
You know, I struggled for a long time. I'll give you a little bit of background because we haven't really had the opportunity to sit down and talk, but I was brought back out of Toronto to open up Resonant Essentials. And I'm like, why? Because my spirit team came in and said, this is what you're going to do. And I said, don't people know this? And they said, see what's being taught out there. And I went and I was surprised because some of the things made absolutely no sense. And I thought, such as this one person was offering to remove your karma for $300. I thought, I'd pay you $3,000 if you could do it. But that's not what that means. And so during the ascension process of 2 years, because I'm going to use your phrase, I like it so much better.
Yeah.
I started to write a book in metaphysics, and it's soon to be hopefully published by the end of this year. I thought it was going to be published a little sooner, but you know, all things in good measure and in the right times. I feel like it's we're all coming together. If the hard thing is that you watch people, and if the ego is in struggle, then it's you did this to me. And if ego is in balance, it's thank you for sharing that opportunity with me. There's, you know, it's a learning process, and we all have to do our share of learning. And sometimes you just have to open the door and say, my heart to all of yours. Let's bring it together, or, you know, not. It's okay. And I think it's just a great opportunity. I feel Resonant Essentials is going to be bringing in more people, more collective from around the world. And it's an opportunity for us to reach higher consciousness if we want to. It's just such a beautiful time to be alive. Is it a struggle? Absolutely. I agree with you. And I think what the work that you're offering is such a blessing, because we still work with, you know, things with our families, situation with our families. I know people who are struggling. My son passed away, and so that was my trauma. But even after I had already agreed to come back to Albuquerque from Toronto, that was my struggle. I sat in the dark for a year and tried to collectively come back out of that. And, you know, we still slide back into it. So the higher vibration that we have collectively speaking in the people that we work with, the higher our consciousness gets. So we work with the people of higher consciousness. We want to listen to each other and share dialogue. So
yes. And the most important thing right now is to not be resistant of what is. So all of the fear that's being propagated out there, all the appearance that looks like there's so much of the trauma that's bubbling up to the surface, the
Right.
division, the struggle, the all of that stuff that's actually sort of been on the uptick, or that appears to be on the uptick. The most important thing is not to be in resistance to it, and to actually see it as part of the process, because it is, because this is literally about dissolving massive, massive trauma collectively, and as this collective being has been asleep to its full potential and has wanted to awaken to it, it's really actually this massive realization of what's possible. Now, I think it bears mentioning that in addition to doing hypnotherapy, of course, I do readings with the angels as well. So a lot of times people maybe might not be looking to do kind of all that, but they're looking for some guidance from the angels right now too. And that's one of the things that I do as well, is I do a reading and let the angels come in. But it's interesting because when we do our work in that sense, it becomes embedded with a healing or miracle frequency in it as well. So, relating that to what you said is that, here you know, you actually accepted a calling that didn't really actually initially have a jolt of delicious taste, you know, in that sense, and then you've come to
Right.
discover that there's something much bigger than what you thought it was to begin with, and now you have this all of a sudden it's kind of turned around. And I got to tell you, I also had that experience when I worked at BMW at the car dealership, because something happened and I was sort of detaching myself from the entertainment industry. And it was very interesting because all of a sudden I got guided to get this job. And I thought, well, this is very funny because this couldn't be any more outside of like my gifts and talents. I work with angels, I'm an actor and I'm a writer and I'm a producer. And now you want me to go sell cars. And so I mean, every day I went there, and trust me, I understand what it's like to have something land in your life that you have resistance to. Because I woke up every morning, I would cut myself shaving from that resistance. I would stub my toe. I would yell at the angels, like, why am I doing this? And not only that, but I went in there thinking like, well, if you're going to send me here, I'm gonna do well at it. I was like most often at the bottom of this of the of the of the production. I was struggling to maintain, whatever, and I was so upset. And eventually, I mean, it had its glimmering moments because I love that brand. I love cars, which is why I went there. And but what's interesting, because there were some glimmering moments, of course, and I met some amazing people, and it wasn't all like 24/7 that struggle, but every once in a while I'm like, what am I doing here? And so to anyone who's listening right now, who just went like, oh my God, during the last 2 years, I was on a path of something that I wanted to do. And suddenly, like Dorothy and Wizard of Oz, this sort of hurricane, or this sort of tornado came and uprooted me and Toto and the barn and everything. And now suddenly I'm way over here in the place where I don't even want to be. Well, I mean, as it turns out, it plays out that, because I was at that job, it positioned me to, when everything shut down, it positioned me to be eligible for unemployment. And so while we were all at home and being good little boys and girls and all that kind of good stuff, I actually went and picked up a new Mac computer and I started to work. And I'm like, okay, angels, where do you want me? Actually, true story. Um, we got in California, we couldn't figure out if we were essential or not. And so we got sent home once, and when we got sent home once, and then we were brought back again, but we got sent home once, and then we were brought back, and then we were sent home again. And when we were sent home the second time, I went and bought the computer, not knowing what was happening. I went, it's time, isn't it, angels? And so I went and got the computer and I started getting ready to learn how to, I didn't know it at the time, to create podcasts, to start, doing all kinds of things. But what ends up happening is that I got the computer and I sort of sat there and I said, I need to keep working on this, but I don't know how I'm going to do this. You're going to have to guide me. And I can't quit because I have bills to pay, but how am I going to do this? And then I got the call that I got laid off. So it was very interesting. And then I realized why I was at the bottom of the of the sales numbers, because I was one of the first people that was on that list. But it was interesting because the reason I tell this story is because a lot of people can relate to being in this position of doing something that they have to do right now and not understanding why. And moreover, feeling some artificial sense of hopelessness that will never be aligned with what our heart's desire is and what our purpose is and what our goal is and all of that. And so that's a very I share that story to inspire people into knowing that you don't know how this thing is that you're resisting right now, because I've done it. We don't know how it's actually something that's actually giving us the shortcut to where we want to be instead of actually taking a longer path to get there. So, I had this experience and then I started, doing this work. And since then, in like podcasting and meeting people and interconnecting. And also I want to go back to what you mentioned too about Albuquerque being a portal, because I'm sure there's a lot of people that I'm going to meet while I'm there that are also here to serve the quantum field, connect people to the quantum field, do work just like this, not just receive it, but to give it as well.
Right.
And so it'd be interesting to kind of meet people, meet all of you, because one of the things I've noticed from being in Sedona, what's happening as all of this becomes a larger conversation in the collective. This isn't just highly concentrated on Sedona anymore. It's actually sort of, I don't want to say it's diminishing, but it's actually transforming in Sedona as well. So Sedona is this place, and a lot of people do come there, but they don't need to anymore. And so there's a lot of people who do get called to come there, but there's a lot of people who are now finding what they need via this virtual world we live in. And that's the thing, I can do hypnosis via virtual as well. So even though I'll be there for a week, working with you and getting to meet you and getting to know you and getting to know the people personally in in-person sessions, but and readings and hypnotherapy, and we have an event planned as well, which is going to be fun. But yes, but what happens is, because we're working with the quantum field, this work is just as effective virtually. I do it on Zoom and it's amazing, with amazing results, the same results that you would get in person, actually. And so because people are utilizing this virtual world for this kind of thing, this is where we're pivoting to, being offering sort of in that way. But yes.
So that's our leeway into, you are going to be here, going to be doing a few things. You're going to be doing a program Tuesday night at 6:30. Tell us a little bit about that program that you have planned for us.
Yes. So it actually hits, this is something that I do that actually just brings in the angels, and I use all of the talents that they've given me to do that. So it starts off with a Q&A where people get to ask the angels a question. And it's sort of like a little tiny, I don't want to call it a reading, but let's just say that it is. It's like where they get to ask the angels a question in a round robin. And I will answer from the angels live. I'll be doing a live event. Think of like Jonathan Edwards, I'll be working with the angels and not your departed loved ones. So you'll come in, and if you have questions for the angels at this time and need a little guidance or whatever, it's going to be a round robin. Everyone will get an opportunity to ask a question to the angels, and I'll reveal an answer for them. And then we'll conclude that with it's a guided and channeled meditation. So in other words, it's not a scripted meditation. The angels give me a guided meditation. Of course, that will be infused with energy healing, which comes, I've agreed to be used as a transmission point for their miracle frequency. So as we're doing this guided and channeled meditation to bring in our angels, it's going to be whatever the angels want it to be, depending on who's there, the synchronicity of who's there, and what needs to be covered in a way that will actually bring the participants into a state of heightened connectivity with their angels and the guidance and the quantum field so that they can create at a higher level in their reality. So that's an exciting event that I like to do.
So let's tell everyone that it's $22. If you want to come, just send me a message either through Facebook or send it through my email, michelle@resonantessentials.com, so that I can have a head count of chairs. And if you're not able to make it and you feel like some of your friends or family can benefit, please, please, please tell them and have them come in. It's a great opportunity to connect. We've already had some RSVPs. I won't that take off like that. It did. We got some RSVPs the first day I sent it out in my letter. So yay.
That's all the angels. I got to tell you, I've been working with the angels I've been working with them for over 20 years, but I've been working with them professionally in this manner for over 15 years. And it's all the angels. Every time I go somewhere and bring them, they know who's supposed to be there and they find a way for that person to know who's supposed to be there. And they're there. And that it's really interesting to watch how the angels do this. I love them for that.
Well, I will tell you that here's some comments. Nikki, who comes to, you're going to be at our psychic fair. So yay for that. So you'll be able to do angel readings there, but you're going to be doing readings through the week too. We want to make sure everybody understands you're going to be available twofold. Nikki, who also reads at the fair, she looks forward to meeting you in person. I hope she's going to make the event. Brother Francis says the same thing. Can't wait to meet Seph at the fair. Harold is, I'm coming for sure. I can't wait for 9/6. So Harold's enthusiastic.
Nice. Love it. Love it.
Absolutely. But that's not, you're going to be doing sessions with people. So let's say a reading. You're going to be doing readings. We've got the back room all set up that we use as the meditation room. And you'll be using the healing room for hypnotherapy for most of the time. And so we have you set up and ready to go. Tell us about your booking. We've got you on the website now, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So how much is your bookings for each? How much for a private sessions?
Perfect. Perfect. Thank you. That's a great question. So yes, I'll be, what is it? The Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. I'll be there from 12 to 4, I believe. And if anybody wants something after, just, let us know. I'm sure that that's not a problem. And of course, we can book something for you virtually as well if you can't make it in during those times. But I would really love to meet as many people and create community as the primary objective here. It's going to be great. But the sessions are, for half an hour, it's 80. For 20 minutes, it's 60. And for an hour, it's 150. Hypnosis is 175. I allocate an hour and a half for those sessions because it's not that it always takes an hour and a half, but I always add a half-hour padding just in case there's something that we discover there that we really want to process and we really want to unpack and benefit from, that we're not like, oh, hey, gotta go. The next person is coming right behind you. So I leave that half an hour padding in there. So it's 175 for hypnosis. And so there's a lot of discovery there. So yes.
And you have a 3-package deal. We've got it on the website.
Yes.
Book that as well.
Yes, if you want to really accomplish something in hypnosis, and by all means, come to the event on Tuesday, or you can reach out to me or whatever with whatever it is you want to work with. But if it's something that we could really actually work 3 sessions with, that's $450, which is $150 a session, and then we could start maybe by doing the first one in person, and then the remaining ones virtually, which works just as well. But definitely we can do that. There is a 3 package system as well. I'm actually working towards creating something for people eventually too, because I have a lot of people who are doing this, But you know, since we do them maybe sometimes every other week, the session with hypnosis, and some people just keep doing it to keep, once they discover one thing, they go in another. It's like EFT tapping. Sometimes when people learn to EFT tap, they're like, okay, well, I'll do it with my eating stuff. No, okay, well, if that worked there, I might as well try it with my relationship stuff or whatever. And we start to attack all these different things that we want to clear up. And so I'm actually working on doing like a monthly, which would have 2 sessions a month eventually too. So if that's something that you want to do it on an ongoing basis, just reach out to me and we'll make that arrangement, because I'm creating that program and you'll know when it's up and ready and launched. But yeah, so this would be a great way segue into that experience as well.
Yes, absolutely. So let me see. Anybody have any questions? I'm going to check and double check. No, everybody's just telling me how excited they are that you're coming. So
Oh, I'm excited too. Thank you.
so glad you're going to be in Albuquerque. It's a beautiful. I can't say enough about how much I love it here. But I'm looking very much forward to meeting you in person. Thanks to Tracy for connecting us together. That, like you said, the quantum field works miracles. So we're all in this together, and I look forward to developing this further. Anyone that wants to come in and have a session, he's got a booking portal all set up at resonantessentials.com. Just click on the practitioners tab, drop down menu, pick Seph. It's a great opportunity because, you know, people say, oh, it's the Great Divide, oh, it's the Great Awakening, oh, it's this, it's that. Let's look at it as this is our time to heal. And by bringing healing, we raise our vibration and we create a higher state of consciousness for ourselves. And the higher our consciousness goes, we take people with us when we go. So it's time for all of us to do this, to really bring forth everyone with us. I chose not to struggle with people because if I struggle, I'm fighting them, then it just turns into a bad vibration. Whereas if I raise my consciousness, I can take them with me when I go. You know, we raise the vibration for others. We don't have to fight them. We just raise the vibration. So I thank you for all your kind words and your beautiful talk, and look forward to seeing you here.
I'm very much looking forward to meeting you, and I'm very much looking forward to meeting the community in Albuquerque and really connecting with the area. And of course, you know, this can be mentioned as well. And even though I'm coming in for a week and then sort of being connected virtually, the plan is to, you know, as it will allow itself to be able to continually come back for periods at a time and keep meeting. So this isn't sort of like a one and done thing with, you know, being able to meet you in person. So this is about beginning our relationship and our connectivity. And I want to know how I can fuel your purpose and get you out there spreading the light as well.
I am going to dump on you so much. I'm telling you, we will be working together.
And I mean that to everyone in the audience too. You know, I'm here to bring in something to move you forward, and we can do that as we invest in this together. Yes.
Absolutely. I think that's exactly right. But I'm being a little selfish. I'm thinking there's so much that I've put on the table for Resonant Essentials in the next few months that I'd love to get a session with you so I can get clear, so I can make it happen. Because
yeah.
I think this is it's a great time to be together.
It is. It really is. I'm looking forward to it. Thank you for having me here today too.
Thank you. And I will see you on Tuesday. Anybody
I will.
Any questions you want me to forward to Seph, just put them in the comment section and I will send the messages over to him and have him answer. So anybody who
Thank you.
Thank you, dear.
Thank you. Thank you. Have a good one. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.